Hi there, I'm Barb from Stitches and Chill. Thanks for joining me to create a cute mini ghost embroidery. Video is split into sections, so feel free to skip around. I'm not quite ready to be on camera, but I'm here and excited to stitch along with you. Let's get started. Right, let's talk about what you'll need for this project. First up, you'll need some embroidery fabric. I like using cotton, linen, something that's not too stretchy and holds up very well for embroidery. Make sure it's a bit sturdy and has a nice even weave. Next, you will need needles. I'm using a 6 to 9 needle set from DMC for this project. It gives a good range of sizes to work with. For threads, the colors are really up to you. I've gone with an anthracite grey, a light yellow, some dark green, and a burnt orange. You can find the DMC color codes I've matched with these on my Instagram post and in the video description. But honestly, I used some cheaper threads I had laying around and it turned out just fine. Now for a bit of sparkle, I've added some metallic threads for the stars, specifically E677 from DMC. And here is the star of the show, a glow in the dark thread. This is going to give our ghost a fantastic ear glow. Of course, you will need scissors and other needlework tools you like to use. And you also need a 5 cm or approximately 2-inch mini hoop. I'll pop the Amazon link for the one I used in the description once I track down. Next, some water-soluble paper. Make sure it's the sticky kind, it makes the process a whole lot easier. And last but not least, you will need a pattern printed to size. I'll show you how I did it in just a moment. Alright, let's dive into printing our pattern. I use a Canon Pixma printer and its application for this step, but just a heads up, I'm not sponsored by Canon. This is just the method that works best for me. The reason I choose this particular printer, it's mainly due to its easy paper handling and its handy wireless data transfer, although that part can be tricky at times. This is my go-to method when printing directly from my phone to get the pattern just right. If this section isn't what you need, feel free to skip ahead to the embroidery part. Now I'm setting the photo cropping size to 50mm x 50mm. Just to be safe, add a 3mm margin to that. Then choose number of frames. For this project I'm picking 3 because they line up nicely in a row on the page. Tap next, then select your downloaded pattern. I like to enlarge mine just a tad to make sure everything is nice and visible. Now repeat these steps for the next frame and again for the third frame. Once you get everything set up, hit next again and you're ready to print. Now let's get our water-soluble paper ready for printing. First, check the area of your pattern we'll print on and cut a piece of water-soluble paper accordingly, leaving some extra space around the sides. Secondly, tape down the edges. Avoid any curves or movement, just to be careful not to cover any part of the pattern with tape. And there you go! With these steps, you should have your pattern printed on the water-soluble paper, ready for the next stage of our project. Let's get to it! Fantastic! Now, cut out the pattern you just printed. Take a normal embroidery hoop. I'm using one that's 10 cm or 4 inches in circumference. Don't leave too much fabric on the sides, just enough to get securely in the hoop. Place the fabric in the hoop, tighten it up, and you're good to go. Next, stick the water-soluble paper with the pattern onto the fabric. Then, get a needle which can handle up to 3 strands of thread. Now the exciting part, let's start stitching. Grab your thread of choice. I'm starting off with 2 strands of the DMC metallic thread. Begin stitching the stars. A little tip here, work from the outside in. The water-soluble paper can be a bit fussy and may shift around even when it's sticky. Since I've chose the darker fabric, I keep in mind that the tiny printed details may blend in a bit or be harder to see, so it's really handy to have a clear version of the pattern close by for reference. And for those bigger stars, I start by stitching a plus sign shape for each of the larger stars. Then follow that up stitching an X shape over the plus sign. Grab your dark gray thread. We'll be using 3 strands of it to really make the details pop. Now let's give our ghosts some hands. Stitch them in back stitches to create a clean, defined look. If you're feeling adventurous, you can also opt for stem stitches instead. Once the hands are done, use the same dark gray thread to stitch the eyes, bringing our ghost to life. At this point, you have a choice to make regarding the ghost outline. Personally, I like to save outlining for last as it adds a nice finishing touch. However, it's totally up to you. You can either finish the outline here or park the leftover thread and come back it later, which is what I usually do. Now, after finishing the eyes, let's move forward to the pumpkin's face. So, with your light yellow thread in hand, separate out 3 strands to get started. We're going to shape the carved eyes of our pumpkin using fly stitches. This technique is somewhat similar to the detached chain stitches, but instead of a petal shape, we are going forward to an upside down V shape. After finishing the other eye, I gave it a nose as a straight stitch, then some back stitches as a smile. Optionally, you can add a few straight stitches to the smile, and with that, the pumpkin will look like it has teeth. For the next step, grab your green thread and pull out 3 strands. We are going to give our pumpkin, well, a stem using tiny stem stitches. Now it's time to bring in the burnt orange thread. Separate 2 strands and get ready to fill in the pumpkin with satin stitches. Work your way around, filling as much space as you can. Don't worry if it's not perfect, just enjoy the stitching process and watch your pumpkin come alive. For the ghost, we are moving on to long and short stitches. This technique is a great alternative for areas where satin stitches might be too lengthy. Given that this is a mini embroidery project, you don't have to stress over the details too much. Grab your DMC E940 glow-in-the-dark thread and let's start with 3 strands of it. A heads up about this thread. It has a texture more similar to wool yarn than to cotton embroidery thread. So take a moment to ensure the strands are evenly separated, ensuring consistent thickness as you work. Now switch back to your anthracite grey thread using 3 strands. If you have parked your thread from earlier as I did, now this is the time to pick it back up and complete the stitching. We'll be creating a neat outline for our ghost. I personally prefer backstitches for better control around those curves and edges, but feel free to opt out for stem stitches if that's more your style. And just like that, our stitching is complete. Stay tuned for the next section where I will guide you through placing your masterpiece in the mini hoop. So, for finishing up everything, you will need the embroidery, some leftover thread, a scissor, some more leftover thread, a strong jeweler's glue, and of course the mini hoop with every part of it. Firstly, after ensuring your embroidery is completely dry and free of excessive wrinkles following the removal of the water-soluble paper, position the smaller disc of the hoop on top of your embroidery. Make sure it's well centered, then use your pinky to mark the extra edge distance from the disc to the fabric's edge, and then cut along this line. Next, sew a running stitch between the fabric's edge and the disc's edge, pull the thread tightly and secure it. And this is the last moment, where you can make slight adjustment to ensure the ghost design is precisely in the center. Assembling the mini hoop is the next step, so follow along carefully to avoid any mishaps. First, start by placing the screw through the outer circle and attaching a nut, but remember to keep it very loose for now. The frame is delicate and applying too much pressure could cause it to break. Next, apply a medium thin layer of glue to the edge of your fabric. Be careful to spread it evenly to prevent any lumps or excess glue from showing. Now it's time to attach the fabric to the frame. Do this from the back side to ensure that any potential glue spills won't be visible from the front. Then apply glue to both the back of the frame and the back of the embroidery, securing everything together. Take the leftover thread and use it to tightly bind the entire assembly, ensuring everything stays in place while the glue dries. Once the glue has completely hardened, you can remove the thread. Take a moment to clean up the edges and, if necessary, use a nail filer to gently smooth down any hardened glue that might be sticking out. Our mini ghost embroidery is all finished and looking spook-tacular. I really hope you had a great time stitching along with me. And don't forget, every subscriber brings us closer to better quality videos, and hey, maybe even faster editing if we can get an expert on board. Wishing everyone a crafty and delightful Halloween. Until next time, take care, bye!